88.5 FM and 88.5fm.org. My name's Mark, or Mookie if you prefer, the music director here at the radio station. We feel inspired today because we got live music here in our studio, our beautiful state-of-the-art TV room here at Saddleback College. And Nick Waterhouse is here with his incredible band. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty well. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So honored to have you. I've seen you play live for, I guess, a handful of times. The last time, maybe about a year ago, downtown at the Gremp Ballroom, I feel like, right?
Yes, old stomping grounds. That's like I think we played there like almost a dozen times now.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So you got the new record out. It's a self-titled album, and even before the album came out, they sent out the single "Song for Winners" out to radio stations. I knew it would be good. I couldn't wait to play the new Nick Waterhouse on the radio, and now we play the song just about every day.
Oh, I'm flattered. Thank you. Yeah.
Of course. Well, we do have some questions about the new record and all things Nick Waterhouse, but why don't we rip into a song right off the bat? And we're getting all new stuff from what I understand, right?
Yeah, this is everything we're going to play today is on the new self-titled album, aforementioned. So we're going to do one called Wreck the Rod right now. Here we go. Love's not a gamble.
No.
Love is a trap.
No.
Love is a lovely
No.
suicide pact.
No.
Can't hold a candle.
No.
Can't hold back. Well, wreck the ride and bring the strip. My kind has been put out,
No.
some even lost.
No.
Eyes have been blinded,
No.
teaser or crossed. And if you're looking, well, baby, don't look back. Well, wreck the ride and bring the strip. Well, talking about love. Yeah, love. Oh, no, not a gamble now. Just talking about. About it. Oh, yeah.
And there you go, brand new music from Nick Waterhouse off the brand new record. The record's titled Nick Waterhouse. The song was called Wreck the Rod right here on 88.5 FM and 88.5fm.org. There's a cool video actually floating around the interwebs to go along with that song. And you might have maybe a future as a comedic actor.
Might have a future. That video is about an alternate future for me, definitely.
Oh,
In which
you're projecting.
Yeah.
Maybe?
We did that video with a dear friend of mine, Danny Trejo, who was really kind to work with. His son directed it, and we both came up with this concept where it was like casting Danny against type, and maybe me a little against type.
Yeah, so Danny Trejo is the host of like a late night talk show, and you appear to be maybe an old washed up, recording artist who kind of is just focusing on that one hit that you've had in the past.
Yeah, well, they put me back out because we figured the backstory was some conglomeration absorbed a bunch of independent labels and were putting oldies acts on the circuit again. So I had to go out and shill my wares on Danny's Mike Douglas style show.
Yeah, I did notice that Gilbert Trejo was the director of that, and it's funny, just a couple of days ago I was kind of poking around the internet and I saw a video that he directed for an LA band called Starcrawler. So apparently this gentleman, Gilbert Trejo, is establishing a name for himself.
Oh, immensely talented, like really great eye, and not just from growing up as Danny's son, but he's got a real knack for, working on film and tape and using different mediums. Like he was even using these VHS camcorders to shoot a lot of this stuff. Just like it was really cool to work with somebody that was as involved in the creative process as like I am when I'm making my records.
Right.
Like we kind of have the same attitude about stuff.
So we do encourage everybody to check out that video for Wreck the Rod. Again, Nick Waterhouse is here. The website is nickwaterhouse.com. I was poking around, and it looks like the CD on the website is already sold out. I'm sure there's more coming, but people could get the vinyl. And again, for the uninitiated, there's not just the self-titled album available now. I mean, you have records called Time's All Gone, Holly, and Never Twice. And I've spun a lot of Nick Waterhouse on the radio in the past. Songs like Indian Love Call, This Is a Game, It's Time, and now, of course, Song for Winners on 88.5 FM.
Thanks, man.
So there's a lot to delve into.
Yeah, there's back catalog. So
Right.
I figured I'd fool everybody by thinking they were hearing about a new act when they buy a self-titled record.
You know what? Patty Griffin did that recently, too. She put out a
Really?
record just called Patty Griffin.
It was sitting around. We had a lot of working titles for this one, and then finally I realized like the way that these songs were going and all the people involved and like just the process felt the most representative of me as like an artist and what my sort of worldview and both lyrically and like musically, like what my value system are.
Well, certainly musically, it's true to form as far as some of the Nick Waterhouse songs, and records that we've heard in the past. You could put the record on, listen to the whole thing through, and put it on repeat and listen to the whole thing through once again. But lyrically, there's songs like Undedicated, where, if you read between the lines, there could be some heavy subject matter there. And also the song Black Glass, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of touches on the fact that the generation of our previous generation had it a lot different than how we have it now.
Certainly. Yeah, Black Glass is, that was sort of about how I was thinking in terms of our generation gap now might be like more extreme than the one that occurred in the 60s between like the baby boomers and their parents, where now we're all in this sort of like globalized system, and there's like structures of power that are even more invisible, like whether it's technology or other forms of influence that sort of like stand in the way of something that you would talk to a parent for advice about, like what should I do in this situation? Well, it's simple. You just react to it this way. It's much more complicated.
Right.
Yeah.
So some social commentary as well as some swing and soul.
Yeah. I sneak it in. Now, if you go back and listen to the first 3 records with these new songs in your head, you might hear some of those encoded lyrics as well.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot to decipher there. Again,
Sure.
Nick Waterhouse is here. We're all very fortunate to have you and your extraordinary band here in our studio. This is listener-supported 88.5 FM and 88.5fm.org. How about another brand new song from the new record?
Yeah, we're going to play a really fun one right now called Wherever She Goes, She Is Wanted.
Wherever she goes, she is wanted. Whatever she does, it is fine. Some smile and some find it daunting. It's hers, not yours, not mine.
We love you so much. We kind of claim you as a Southern California artist and native, in the LA scene and the Orange County music scene. And believe it or not, there is a thriving Orange County music scene.
I believe it.
I believe it.
I lived under that rock. I was a little caterpillar.
Yeah, it's been said that you kind of came up with bands like Ty Segall and like the Cold War Kids and some of those artists as well. You kind of ran in those same circles, playing the same venues coming up.
Yeah, I was actually, so Ty was a little younger than me, and him and Charlie from his band, I remember being around right at the end of my high school days. Like, we were playing a lot of shows, a lot of house parties. In Costa Mesa, we would play a couple art spaces in Santa Ana. There was like the Detroit bar scene where you could be underage and play.
Mm-hmm. And drink? No. And
well, they're closed now, so.
Right.
We had a really wonderful residency at Kona Lanes, the old bowling alley on Harbor, where we'd play on like Friday nights, and it was that was like a really cool time. There was a thriving like underground thing that was really small at the time. And that was also when I met like Lee and Sean from Burger Records.
Right, the Burger Records juggernaut that it is now.
Right, yeah. It really felt more like there was a scene of like 40 weirdos that were playing sort of fringe rock and roll and other stuff. And, there's always been stuff happening here. It's just we're kind of in that the Death Star of Los Angeles insists that the orbit is so tight that it's hard to delineate sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And you have spent some time in San Francisco. What was your music world like in San Francisco? Were you an active musician? I read that you worked at a record store as well.
I did. I moved up there. I went to college at San Francisco State, and I started working at this record shop called Rookie Ricardo's, which one of my best friends in my life now is the owner of that store. I really was... I moved up there, and I'd basically been in a gigging band down here for the previous 4 years, like all my teenage years. We were playing a lot, and when I got there, I was just kind of fooling around, but I didn't really ever get anything going, and the city seemed so hectic, and I was also getting more interested in like my studies and listening to records, really. So I met a lot more DJs and people who were interested in like the types of records that I liked. And there was a strange confluence where a lot of stuff from down here came back into my life when I started making my first album. I actually took everybody that I was playing with in San Francisco and brought them to Costa Mesa to make my first album, Time's All Gone. And I was also working on the Alala's first album in Costa Mesa. So...
As a producer.
Yeah. I have really strong roots here, and to me it's all part of the same like plane of existence. I just feel like a Californian.
Right. Well, we're happy to have you back in Southern California.
Yeah.
It's also been said that early on in your formative years, guitar may have not been your first instrument. Is that right? Maybe you picked up the trumpet at first?
Trumpet, yeah. I played trumpet because my dad played trumpet in marching band. And I think that my parents saw instruments as like almost on par with athletics. Like, you're going to do this, and you should do a high school sport and play an instrument.
Right.
Whereas I was way more into like this late night headphones on in my room, listening to music and trying to interact with songs and like a world of songs, and ostensibly what I found out later to be like songwriting too.
Right. I also, read on the internet, you don't believe everything that you read on the internet, but early on maybe you had an aversion to pop music, and maybe some of your friends were listening to some of those pop hits, but you were, actively seeking some other artists and some other music. Who did you discover in those years, and where did you end up?
It was cool to comprehend, like, in hindsight, I think most people feel angsty or alienated as an adolescent, and you're confused, and you're, like when I was really young and I was starting to play guitar, it's like all the kids I knew only played like Blink-182 songs or heavy metal, and then the kids that I really didn't get along with were like nu metal guys.
Oh.
And I kind of really liked like one chord, like John Lee Hooker songs or something, and that stuff came out of things that I was taking for granted, maybe that like my parents or like my dad's friends were playing at like firefighter parties or would just be on the radio, and I'd be like, well, you know, this British band, like the Stones or the Animals did this, like who recorded that song originally? Like I'd chase down people like Don Covey or Dan Penn, who wrote really great songs, or that's how I got to people like Mose Allison, who really influenced me. And you know, through all that stuff, I think that was just a natural curiosity. I don't think I was particularly obsessed. It was just that I was like, I wanted to feel the way that another song made me feel, and that's what I think a music and a music lover really is into.
And see what I did there without directly asking you who your influences are, kind of in a roundabout way there. This is Nick Waterhouse on 88.5 FM, live in our studio at Saddleback College, not Cal State Northridge today. We got a beautiful broadcast facility here. I don't think we're going a little bit long. In your music, we hear Memphis blues, Southern soul, Detroit Motown, Benny Goodman, big band at times, Dick Dale guitar tone. There's a lot of to unpack when you listen to some Nick Waterhouse music. When I got to the station, it was the first time I ever heard somebody use the phrase neo-soul. Artists like Leon Bridges, the late great, Charles Bradley, or Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings, other artists that we've been kind of digging on, Duran Jones and the Indications. I don't want to pigeonhole you into a particular genre, but sometimes it just kind of works that way. Do you listen to these artists, these contemporary artists? And on a side note, what's your relationship like with Leon Bridges?
Oh, well, Leon's a friend of mine, and, we did a duet on my last album together called Kachi. We wrote some really cool songs around that time period that was really fun. I mean, yeah, I think inherently when there's a lot of people who are sort of deviating from maybe the ultra, like, even mainstream of what making independent music is, you're all going to gravitate towards each other because we're all, like, looking for answers or taking influences from things that aren't like, they're the stuff that a neo-soul act is influenced by. You can't mess with how good that stuff is. And it has a lot to do with not feeling like you can identify with maybe what one set of like popular music is that you're around. My ears are always open. Like, I think a lot of really cool stuff has been done. The Indications new record is really cool, and I had the privilege of sharing stages with Charles over the years, and you all cross paths eventually. For me, what's interesting is that, like, I think that as a consumable good, there's like the point of a genre, right, is to help people like navigate through finding something, and what you were listing with all my influences is like, yeah, there's some like jump blues and T-Bone Walker and maybe surf guitar stuff and instrumental music, and maybe you don't hear that in like the other neo-soul stuff, because my thing I feel comes much more from like a personal or like an introspective aspect, because I sure as hell aren't gonna drop on my knees and scream in 2 octaves the way that some really talented singers can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Certainly a well-rounded individual and still a student of music. I think you pulled up here in that Sprinter, and we were listening to some hip-hop. At least that's what I heard in the car. When you leave here, you got to listen to 88.5 FM.
All right.
Nick Waterhouse is here on the radio, and I think there's one more song to get to.
That's right.
And I think you agreed to play Song for Winners.
Burning up the airwaves right now.
That's right.
For 88.5. Thank you guys for having me.
Of course.
Yeah.
Whenever you guys are ready.
We'll do it for you right now.
Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2.
88.5 FM, 88.5fm.org. The song is called Song for Winners. You've heard it on the air before, but that is the live version, the exclusive 88.5 FM live version from Nick Waterhouse and your incredible band. I could probably keep you here for a good long time, but we'll stop.
All right.
All right, and we'll let you go. Good luck on the road, touring North America, and it's been a pleasure to finally meet you, and hopefully the next time around you can make some time for us again.
Definitely, yeah. I'd love to sit down, and I'd like to thank the band really quick. We could do a quick introduction.
Please.
Paula Henderson on the baritone saxophone. Over here on the keys, we have Judd Nelson. On the drums, we have Jay Rudolph. And the very lovely Jessica Wilkes on the bass.
That's right. One of the best live bands you'll ever see. And certainly, Nick, you're a class act and one of the nicest guys in rock and roll, frankly.
Thanks, man.
88.5 FM.
All right. See ya.